Um, okay, this is one of the first ones that this is the first time I've seen it, so it was really interesting to watch. I think you do a really good job of first of all, the animation is incredible. I thought that was really cool. I've never tried any type of animating in my life, but to see that design of how you depict the neighborhood and going through the city and the city unfolding, even though the street is stationary, it was really creative and very well done visually. I think the message that you're sending was very interesting too, especially in a city. I don't know if you're from Chicago, but when I think about my experience as someone who went to school in Chicago and seeing police officers in the school, this idea of safety and the question of who's safe, because I know a lot of times people who feel marginalized or oppressed by people in power can feel like they're not the ones being protected. And at least for me, that kind of this film kind of spoke to me about from that aspect. Um, I really like this one. Even like you have a lot of very powerful imagery as far as the light color palette and the darkness of the main character. And then again in the school environment where you see all these book bags, but you see the character and the police officer. And it I thought this one was incredible. I don't know what else to say because I'm thinking everything at once, but I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this one. Thank you.
I,
Thank you.
I agree with you. I love the deep complexion of the protagonist, and I felt like the floating backpacks. I just assumed that those were all white students because every time I saw a police officer in my school, I'm like terrified. Right? It never felt. I love you brought up the question of who's being protected, and yeah, and obviously race is at play here. One thing that I'm interested though is I think that the animation takes, I mean, front stage. It's beautiful. Also, I don't know if you do this freelance because I have some projects for you, honestly.
Yes,
I need a good animator. I know it's so time consuming, but yeah, we'll talk after this, I guess.
amazing.
Yeah, for sure. But it's also oh, there's an opportunity with with the audio, with the music though. I think we could the it was just like a you probably just like laid a track underneath. It was like one kind of single music throughout the entire one track throughout the entire short. And I think we could have created some emotional arcs with the sound, with the audio. Um, Brianna's really into sound design, so am I. Most people are, but I am too. I'm a stickler for it, and I think that there could have, there's definitely an opportunity to have the audio and the visual come together and support one another. And I don't feel like they quite supported each other, even though the track is nice and it sounds good. And I would play it in my crib. I'm not. It didn't necessarily do much for me in this particular short, but it's absolutely beautiful. You're extremely talented. I really like it was very Kanye West 2004 Murakami. You know what I mean? Like the very like I kind of saw inside his head, and it was like all these like it kind of looked like a virus, but I'm assuming that was just like him like shooting off, like freaking out or something like that. But yeah, I loved that the officer had no face. Incredible. Yeah, they were like really small details that I really enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really like this too. I didn't have a problem with the music. I think that what you needed was just more sound. Like when I heard the bell, I was like, okay, all right, Miles, come on with the bell ring. So I think that if we would have heard more sounds to accompany the music, like if we would have heard the school bus like going, if we would have heard like maybe a broken down police siren at the beginning. I think if you would have, and that's the other thing, and these are little things, but they make a big difference. I think that you want to give yourself some time at the beginning and the end, as opposed to kind of stuff feeling like it's just cutting off. But I think if we would have heard like the police siren before we saw any animation, and then we hear the breakdown of that police siren because the car is turned over, like that would have been such a strong way to start. So I think just incorporating more sounds. Again, I really like the music. I think that there's a little bit of a juxtaposition there because it does feel kind of like upbeat and positive and fun, but we see this, we see our protagonist kind of like, what's gonna be the mess today? Like, am I gonna live through the day? Am I gonna be okay throughout the day? And I do think that it also kind of goes with the end, which is slightly unclear, but it feels like, okay, I survived another day. I'm good. I'm gonna go home, eat whatever I eat, and like it was a good day because I got through it. So I think that the music goes along with that, but I would like to see more sounds. That's part of what makes animation, especially animation with the lack of dialogue, so powerful, is when we hear the sounds and we hear these things going on. If we were to hear these invisible kids kind of rumbling and walking through. I mean, high school has so much sound. It's like a cacophony of sounds. So I think incorporating that, yes, girl, that's an SAT word. I think hearing that would just add so much more to this piece. But like what you have begun with is really, really phenomenal. And congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yes.
I wanted to just add to reinforce what Brandon was saying about the music. And I thought that that was actually quite well placed. It was a really good choice too. I mean, when it first started out, I was expecting something completely different actually, just by the way the narrative that the music kind of set up for me. But I thought it was, I mean, ultimately it carried through really nicely. One other part that I thought, you know, I'm trying to see the scene here, the timestamp around like the 1 minute mark, you know, when you have the police officer kind of strutting through the hall almost, and then there's that close up on our protagonist's face, and like the animation of that texture kind of looks, it really represented like almost like the thought going through the kind of nervousness, the anxiety kind of that runs through people. And yeah, just to kind of reinforce what Brown was saying, you know, like, or also what Bridget brought up, it's like at the end of the day, it's almost like, you know, what kind of mess do you get into now as all these other invisible children, or they're not children, high schoolers, kind of walk around you and stuff. But, you know, at the end, it seems like he dodges the day and is able to get on with his life and so on. But and the other part that I found really interesting was the bus getting to the school and how it was just kind of flippy floppy. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like I'm not sure how else to describe it. It was really intriguing to watch, and I mean overall very well done.
Yeah, I really want to ride that bus to school. I mean, there's something upbeat and you know, like it's both going up and it's going down, so it's metaphorical. I accept that. I really agree with everything that's been said so far. It's great work, Miles. It's beautiful to look at. It's totally engrossing. The real problems are, I think, essentially narrative ones. And the biggest one is your conclusion, because after all of this, you know, very clear storytelling, you leave us in a position of uncertainty and unclarity. Of course, life is like that, but I think that your protagonist needs to have a moment to savor his safety, at least a moment, and maybe if you were going to extend it, then to face another obstacle, because the reality is that those obstacles will be coming all day long and nonstop, and the real challenge is how to persist and how to survive. So the survival aspect is underplayed, I think, by making the narrative end so abruptly. So that's a small tweak that you could easily fix by, like, you know, he walks down the hall a bit and then, you know, there's some next hurdle, next whatever. Some of it could be positive, some of it could be negative, just as your bus is going up and down. That's this kid's day, and that is our reality. But altogether, a completely engaging work.
I appreciate it.
I also want to make a little comment on this one. I agree with everyone that the little details are really important and carry very important messages from our lives. And I feel like this is a nationwide issue. In my high school, in my hometown, Akron, Ohio, I watched this issue having the police officer in the hallways with my own eyes in the third position, and it's very, very accurate. And the detail of having the flying backpacks, which of the backpacks of white students are like purple and yellow. They're colorful and represents they are the students, but the main character, the black student, has had a transparent backpack, which like I'm not sure if that was your intention, but it was like almost seeing the black person as not a student, but the other people as a student, you know. I think that's a very important message also.
Thank you.
Miles, we would love, love, love to hear a little bit more about your thought behind this creation, kind of your intentions behind it, maybe tell a little story of where this message came from.
Yeah. Well, I was really thinking a lot about Chicago for the City and You. I live in Chicago now. I grew up in the suburbs, in the southwest suburbs, and I actually went to college the first time in Ohio. So small world there, right near Akron. But yeah, just thinking about Chicago, this summer in particular, it's like time. A lot of the conversation, a lot of my thoughts are going around a police-free Chicago, and obviously the history of segregation and police violence across the city and across the country is like can be a very dark and heavy topic. And so I wanted to frame that conversation with this like sort of lens of hopefulness, and thinking about sort of the future of Chicago. And I was interested in the public schools and thinking about the students as the future of Chicago and who are affected by the police and police in schools. And I wanted to do that in a way that was acknowledging both the kind of whimsical and playfulness of students, but also acknowledge the trauma that students are dealing with, and the kind of reaction that they have to police, especially during in an area with a lot of racial injustice. So yeah, there was a handful of symbols. I was definitely working with the clear backpack, the traffic cone, the bell, at the Liberty Bell, like this idea of sort of like abolition and safety, and how to sort of put that around a narrative. So, but I really appreciate all the feedback on this film. I would love to continue to craft it and get it sounding right, and get the arc right too as well. So yeah, I was excited to get it. Very excited to get the opportunity to put something together for the City and You contest.